Imagine a world where everything you know has collapsed. A nation once proud, now broken. After the defeat of the First World War, Germany was not just a country that lost a battle, it was a society that had lost its soul. The empire was gone, the Kaiser had fled, and in their place stood a fragile democracy known as the Weimar Republic, a house built on sand. Then came the Treaty of Versailles. It was more than a peace treaty, it was a sentence of humiliation. Germany was blamed for everything, stripped of its lands and buried under debts it could never pay. In the streets, money became worthless. People carried wheelbarrows of cash just to buy a single loaf of bread. Savings vanished overnight. Security was a memory. In this chaos, people stopped asking for freedom. They started asking for a savior. But where do tyrants come from? They are not born from the sky. They are born from the cracks of a broken society. Adolf Hitler was not a leader then. He was a drifter, a failed artist rejected twice by the Academy in Vienna, a man who slept in homeless shelters, learning to hate the world that ignored him. He found meaning only in the mud of the Great War's trenches. When the war ended, his heart didn't find peace, it found rage. He looked at the politicians, the minorities, and the world, and he told himself, we were not defeated, we were stabbed in the back. Hitler discovered a terrifying gift, his voice. In crowded, smoke-filled beer halls, he spoke to the angry and the forgotten. He gave them a simple answer to a complex world. He pointed his finger at enemies and promised to return to glory. He wrote a book in a prison cell, Mein Kampf. Most ignored it as the ramblings of a fanatic. They didn't realize it was a map to a catastrophe. When the Great Depression hit in 1929, the hunger returned. Fear is the greatest tool of a dictator. Hitler didn't take power by a coup alone. He manipulated the law to destroy the law. A fire at the parliament, the Reichstag, became his excuse. He suspended rights temporarily to save the nation, but that temporary moment lasted 12 years. The press was silenced. The secret police, the Gestapo, began to listen at every door. Silence became the only way to stay safe. The ideology of hate became law. Through the Nuremberg laws, neighbors became strangers. People who had lived together for generations were suddenly un-German. The world watched as the synagogues burned during Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass. Some protested, but many looked away. This is the greatest power of a totalitarian state. It forces you to choose between your conscience and your survival. Hitler's eyes turned outward. He tore up treaties. He marched into the Rhineland, then Austria, then Czechoslovakia. Each time the world chose appeasement, hoping for peace in our time. But there is no satisfying a man who seeks a living space on the bodies of others. In 1939, Poland was invaded. The Lightning War, Blitzkrieg, began. The world was on fire. By 1945, the dream of a 1,000-year Reich was a landscape of ruins. Allied planes darkened the sky over German cities. The Soviet army was at the gates of Berlin. Hitler retreated into a concrete tomb, the Führer bunker. There, beneath the burning streets, he spent his final hours looking at maps of armies that no longer existed. In April 1945, the man who promised eternal glory took his own life. His empire ended in a pile of ash. History is not just a list of dates, it is a warning. It reminds us that civilization is fragile. It shows us that when we trade our values for a strong leader, we often lose both. Today, the ruins of the camps and the monuments to the fallen stand as silent witnesses. We remember not to live in the past, but to ensure that the shadows of 1933 never find a home in our century again. Sleep now, knowing that the light of truth and the lessons of the past are our greatest shield. Thank you for listening. Good night.